Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode with Beyond the Mind. For those who don't know me, I'm your host, Nani, and I'm deeply grateful for each and every one of you. Today, we dive into the depth of consciousness, self awareness, and transformation. We're going to tackle a topic that most people avoid like a plague. Shadow work. And I am not talking about light and airy spirituality or the nonsense about just love yourself and everything will be fine. No, I'm talking about facing the parts of yourself you usually hide, deny, or outright hate, the parts that are messy, uncomfortable, and morally gray or downright shameful. Here's the harsh truth. Most of us are addicted to pretending we're good people. We dress up our flaws in excuses, rationalization, or spiritual jargon. Shadow work tears all that off. It's the raw, unfiltered confrontation with your fears, your wounds, and repeating patterns that are sabotaging your life. It is uncomfortable. It's messy, and yes, it will make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself and others. But here's the kicker, it also is the only path to becoming truly whole, powerful, and free. So, what is exactly shadow work? The term comes from Carl Jung, who said we all have a shadow self. This isn't evil. It's not the devil inside of you. The shadow is all that parts of yourself that society, your family, and even your own ego told you that were wrong, unacceptable. Let's say things like anger, jealousy, greed, lust, the urge to dominate, manipulate, the need to be admired or feared. These are the parts of you that gets shoved into the dark closet, locked away, with big sign that says do not acknowledge. And here's where it gets controversial. Your shadow isn't just some bad side. It's also the raw engine of your power, creativity, authenticity. Pretending it doesn't exist makes you weak. It makes you predictable. It makes you boring. And if you think ignoring it will make it easier, the universe is laughing at you. Because here's the inconvenient truth. The shadow never stays hidden. It sneaks out through your relationships, your work, your self-sabotage, and even your so-called spiritual practice. You think you are enlightened, and then suddenly you yell at a friend, cheat, lie, or then repeat the same toxic pattern you swore you would never repeat. That's your shadow. And the more you ignore it, the uglier it gets. Shadow is like an underground river running beneath your life, silent, unseen, and incredibly powerful. Ignore it, and it will destroy your relationship, your career, and your sense of self. Face it, and you can reclaim your power. And let me be brutally honest, most spiritual teachers, coaches, and self help gurus do not want you to face your shadows. Why? Because a fully conscious, shadow integrated human is unpredictable, it's uncontrollable, and dangerous to the system. They want you to be calm and politely healing forever while your real power rots in the dark. If you're ready to stop lying to yourself, stop pretending, and finally look at the truth of who you are, keep listening, because what I'm about to share isn't comfortable, but it is medicine most of us desperately need. Most people avoid shadow work because it hurts, and not in a stretch your comfort zone kind of way. I mean deep soul shaking hurt, the kind that makes you question your entire life. Facing your shadow forces you to admit things that are socially unacceptable, morally uncomfortable, or downright terrifying. Maybe you say, I've hurt others, and not just in little way. Maybe you have manipulated your partner to get what you wanted, or spoken behind friends' back, or betrayed your own values to feel safe. Facing this is brutal because no one wants to see themselves as capable of harm. Maybe you say, I've been dishonest with myself. You tell yourself you are spiritual, enlightened, or kind, but deep down you resent, envy, and judge constantly. Maybe you have cheated in your relationships for validations instead of love. Maybe you have been addicted to approval. That voice of truth is scary because it undermines the story you have been telling everyone, including yourself. Or maybe you say, I have patterns that keep me stuck, that ex you keep attracting, the toxic boss you cannot quit, that self-sabotage that always ruins opportunities. Shadow work shines a light on your role in these cycles, and that reflection can make you want to run away. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Avoiding your shadow keeps you in reactive living. You think life is happening to you, but it actually is being directed by the unconscious part of yourself you refuse to see. That perfectly unlucky pattern of heartbreaks, betrayal, or career stagnations, that's your shadow guiding your life silently, mercilessly until you finally confront it. And let me make this controversial. Most spiritual teachers, self help books, and online healers actually want you to avoid shadow work. And why? Because fully integrated person is unpredictable and it's dangerous to the system. As I've mentioned before, they sell you light, comfort, and temporary relief, while the real parts of you, the ones that could transform your life, rots in the dark. Example, you keep attracting partners who ghost or betray you. You blame bad luck, bad karma, but shadow work would force you to see, why do I unconsciously seek this pattern? Why part of me needs to be punished or validated or controlled? Most people are terrified of the truth, so they distract themselves with manifestations, affirmations that does nothing. So how do you do shadow work without the fluff? Here's the reality. It is messy, uncomfortable, and sometimes shameful, but if you do it right, it will change everything. Let's break this down step by step. Notice your triggers. Your shadow communicates through strong emotions: anger, jealousy, rage, shame, fear. Those explosive reactions, that's the shadow screaming for attention. Example, someone criticizes you at work and you feel humiliated. Most people scroll past it, just justify their anger. Shadow work asks, why does this sting so much? Maybe it touches a childhood fear of being rejected. Maybe it triggers your inner critic, the voice that says you are not enough. Journal ruthlessly. What help is writing. Actually writing with pen and paper. Write down everything, especially the ugly, shameful thoughts you normally hide. No censoring, no spiritualized sugarcoating. Ask yourself, what part of me is afraid, angry, and ashamed? Example, if you feel jealousy when a friend succeeds, don't just write, I'm happy for them. Dig deeper. Why am I jealous? Do I feel like a failure? Am I angry at myself for settling? That's the voice of the shadow speaking to you honestly. Sit in discomfort of shadow work, because shadow work isn't an immediate solution. It's about acknowledging your inner darkness and feeling it fully. Stop running. Stop distracting yourself with social media, relationships, or self-improvement hacks. Example, feeling rage at your partner for not appreciating you? Sit with it. Feel the resentment. Trace it to your fear of abandonment or unmet childhood needs. Let yourself feel without acting out destructively. Take responsibility. Shadow work requires brutal honesty, and I mean brutal. It demands you to recognize where you have projected your shadows onto others and finally own your role in conflicts, manipulations, and toxic patterns. Projection is when you take something you don't want to see in yourself and place it onto someone else. It's easier to say they are the problem than to face the mirror. Another example, you hate narcissists. You spot them everywhere, but often when we're obsessed with labeling others as narcissists, it's because we are terrified of the narcissist within ourselves, the part of us that craves admiration, validation, or control. The shadow truth is, you are not just a victim of narcissism. You carry narcissistic impulses too. The more you deny it, the more you will keep attracting people who mirror it back to you. Here's an example. You judge someone as lazy or undisciplined, but often that judgment hides the fact that you're projecting your own laziness or procrastination that you cannot admit. It's easier to say that they are weak than to face your own lack of consistency. The controversial part here is this: your enemies, your toxic exes, the people who triggered the most in you, they're often just the mirrors of your unintegrated shadow. They show you the parts of yourself that you rather burn at the stake than admit exist. That's why shadow work is so powerful. When you stop projecting, you reclaim your energy. Instead of fighting ghosts outside of you, you turn inwards and face the truth. And once you own it, no one can use it against you. No one can manipulate you with your wounds. Then you are free. This is the most important part of shadow work, integration, and the part of that is almost everyone gets wrong. Shadow work isn't about becoming good or perfect. It's not about killing off your anger, silencing your jealousy, or erasing your selfishness. It's about integrating the parts of yourself you have denied so they no longer control you from the shadows. When you push away your shadows, it doesn't disappear. It leaks sideways in destructive behavior, addictions, or toxic relationships. But when you integrate it, you take that raw energy and bring it into conscious awareness. Suddenly, the same qualities that once sabotaged you become fuel for your authenticity, creativity, and power. Let me give you an example. Maybe you've always felt greedy or selfish or wanting more from life. More success, more money, more attention. So you hide it. You shame yourself for it or overcompensate by pretending that you don't care. But integration means saying this: yes, I do want more. Why? That's what's beneath that. Maybe it's hunger for freedom, expression, or recognition. By owning it, you stop being unconsciously driven by envy or comparison and instead consciously channel that ambition into building something real. Or another example. Society teaches us to fear anger, especially women are told, don't be angry, be nice. But repressed anger doesn't vanish. It shows up as passive aggression, depression, or explosive outbursts. Integration means saying, yes, I have anger. It protects me. It shows me where my boundaries have been crossed. Once integrated, anger stops being destructive and starts being a force of protection, justice, and clarity. Here's another example about jealousy. We're told that jealousy makes us small and toxic, but jealousy is a signal. It shows us that what we secretly desire but don't give ourselves permission to have. Instead of shaming yourself for feeling jealous of a friend's relationship or career, integration asks, what does this jealousy reveals about what I want for myself? Once you stop shaming it, jealousy turns into motivation and clarity about your own path. Most of us have the need to control. We all want to believe that we're easygoing, chill, and flexible, but the truth is most of us have a need to control people or outcomes because uncertainty scares us. If you repress it, it shows as micromanaging, manipulation, or anxiety. Integration here means admitting, yes, I want to control because it makes me feel safe. Once you own it, you can work with it consciously, creating stability in healthy ways rather than sabotaging relationship. Do you see the pattern? Integration doesn't mean you get rid of the shadows. It means that you stop fighting it and start working with it. Your selfishness becomes healthy self-respect. Your greed becomes ambitions and drive. Your anger becomes boundaries. Your jealousy becomes clarity about your desires. Your need for control becomes leadership and structure. When you integrate, you stop being ruled by unconscious impulses and start directing that energy consciously. That's where real freedom is. That's when you become whole, not perfect, not holy, not flawless, but real. And real is magnetic. I also want us to clear up some misconception that keeps people trapped in self-deception. Shadow work is not self-punishment. Endless guilt doesn't make you better. Feeling bad about yourself, wallowing in shame, or endlessly analyzing mistakes is not growth, it's procrastination. Growth is awareness, not suffering. Shadow work isn't about being spiritual all the time. You can meditate every morning, read every self help book out there, and chant mantras and still be entirely unintegrated. You can be spiritual on Instagram, but angry, jealous, and manipulative behind closed doors. Shadow work doesn't care about your appearance, it's about honesty with yourself. Let me give you an example. You volunteer, donate, teach kindness, but you secretly sabotage coworkers or feel envy towards friends. That's your shadow, which is truly human, fully real, and ignoring it will keep you stuck in conscious loops. Shadow work isn't one-time fix. Your shadow evolves. Life keeps sending reflections until you integrate them. That toxic ex who hurt you, that coworker you hate, that recurring inner critic, they're all mirrors. Avoiding them keeps you repeating the pattern, attracting the same types of people and replaying the same old dramas. Let's say you break up with a controlling partner and promise yourself you will never attract the same energy again. Months later, another relationship with similar dynamic appears. That's your shadow saying, "Hey, remember me?" Integration is the only way to stop these patterns. Unfortunately, most gurus and spiritual communities do not want you to integrate your shadows. Why? Because guilt, shame, and denial keep you buying books, programs, and retreats forever. Real integration makes you unpredictable, independent, and dangerous to the system, as I've mentioned this before. Again, shadow work isn't comfortable, but it transforms everything. You stop attracting toxic people and situations. Once you face your own pattern, you stop unconsciously seeking mirrors of your wounds. You stop dating the same emotionally unavailable partner. You stop being drawn to manipulative coworkers and stop repeating cycles of betrayal. For example, you realize your anger at partners is a reflection of your fear of abandonment. When you own it and communicate honestly, you attract people who match your integrity instead of your insecurities. You gain emotional freedom. Instead of reacting impulsively, you choose consciously. When you do shadow work, you unlock creativity, intuition, and inner peace. All that energy wasted on denial and projection is now available to you. Your instinct sharpens, your decisions become aligned, and your life feels more expansive. Controversial truth. Most people spend decades chasing happiness outside themselves, blaming others, or meditating while still unconsciously sabotaging their lives. Shadow work is what actually liberates you, but it's messy, uncomfortable, and frightening, and most will run from it, unfortunately. So, beautiful souls, shadow work without the fluff is about staring at the parts of yourself no one wants to talk about and owning them. Not just your good qualities, not just your spiritual victories, but the jealousy, the anger, the fear, the greed, and the shame. It is uncomfortable, messy, I know, and even terrifying, but it's also transformative. I challenge you today. Notice one shadow aspect in your life, one trigger you've been avoiding, one emotion you have been shoving down. Journal about it, sit with it, integrate it, consciously channel it instead of letting it control you, and watch as your life shifts in ways you couldn't have imagined. Let me give you another example for action. You feel envy towards a friend's success. Instead of suppressing it, ask yourself, what does this reveal about me and what I want for myself? Then use that energy to create, grow, and assert yourself in this world. Now, I want to thank you for listening to this episode. If this shook something in you, please subscribe. Share it with someone ready to face their own shadows, and leave a comment letting me know what part of yourself you uncovered today. And remember, real love isn't just found outside, it starts inside in the darkest corner you've been afraid to look. So, until next time, keep facing, keep growing, and keep being authentically and fearlessly you. And always go beyond the mind. Thank you.